Hi, this is Jacqueline here with the Grow Program. Thanks for tuning in. I want to share a little personal story here. My life is really an open book because my life is a testimony of what I've went through, and has how God has brought me through and carried me. Now, I've been through a lot in my life, and I always wonder why. And now I know why. For a time such as this, to tell you, that while you going through, you don't have to go through anymore. Because we can have the glory here on earth through our spirituality. Okay, let me share something with you. When I was 19, I went in the military. I thought I wanted to serve my country. I was so happy to serve my country. I'm just a kid, didn't know no better. I knew about roots and stuff like that, but I just thought roots was like an isolated incident. I didn't know roots was as deep as it is. I didn't know how deep roots went. Roots went deep as this ground, this earth. You can keep digging and digging. That's how deep roots is over here in the United States. So I call myself going to go and serve my country. I go in there, and for the first 2 weeks, I'm away from home, and I cried my eyes out. But, I got with the program, and, but it just didn't work. And I don't know why it didn't work, because I wanted it so much. I wanted it to work, and I tried to make it work, but I wound up quitting, and I got out the military. And then, so that didn't work. I went to college. College didn't work. Dropped out of college. Got a job with United Airlines. That didn't work. Tried out for the sheriff department. Got an interview with the sheriff department. Went to go do my physical exam. That didn't work. Couldn't get over the wooden fence. Everything I ever tried to do, it didn't work. And then the last thing I tried to do was the last big thing that I tried to do when I was on the radio. And I was on the radio and I was preaching the gospel of Jesus. And I just knew that was going to work. I just knew that the people's going to hear the message and want to do right. But you know what? Stuff wasn't even going right in my life because my heart wasn't right. I wasn't in the right place. And not only that, people, I did not know about our African spirituality. I didn't know about that. And a lot of us don't know. A lot of us African Americans die without knowing that we have something besides Christianity. We have a whole African spirituality, and over there is just European history, because the African history is gone. Because when they came over and took over with apartheid, they pretty much obliterated the African spirituality and replaced it with Christianity. Okay, now I don't have anything against Christianity. I don't. But what I do have against is how the Bible has been used for evil purposes. But what you're supposed to do, people, this is what you're supposed to do. Okay, Jesus forgave. So you use the Bible in doctrine and teaching. You don't too much deal with them Bible stories. But you use the Bible in doctrine and teaching the scripture like you have your entire life. Like the word said, like in Jeremiah, the Old Testament, and the New Testament that teaches you about how to live right and how to live righteously. That's what you apply to your life. You don't too much worry about the Bible stories and all of that, but just use the doctrine and teaching and apply that towards your life, along with trying to live in honor. Because I'm going to tell you, it's not hard to live in honor. If you got a will and a mind to want to do right and live right, you can do it. If you can do it one day on Sunday, you can do it every day. And I'm telling you, it's easy to do. I've been doing it here, living in honor over here now. I'm telling you, I've been on a journey. So, this podcast, everything, all this is new. This is a journey. So it's been about 3 months. I've been worked on over here about 6 months. But then the last 3 months, I've been changing. I'm totally a changed person. Totally changed. I done lost weight. I lost about 30 pounds. My thinking, I don't eat the things I used to eat. I don't think the way I used to think. I think better about myself. I think better about my marriage. I think better about my life. I love me. For the first time ever, I looked in that mirror last week and told myself, I love you. I used to didn't, but I do now. I truly do love me. When I look at my videos, I have to re-look at the videos and re-listen to them sometime, and I like me. I think I'm funny. I talk fast. So sometimes stuff come out because the spirits are giving me stuff. So it come out fast, but I never really noticed me. I never really paid no attention to me. But I think I'm a really cool person. I'm nice. I'm easy to get along with. And I just always have been a nice person. I never let the events of my life harden my heart. See, and you got to be careful because it's so easy for that to happen. It's easy when you're going through the battles, the spiritual battles over here that we going through. We going through these battles, and it's easy as you're going through and you're going through one thing after another after another. It's hard to not let your heart get hard. But you got to come out of it. You can't take revenge. You got to let go. You got to forgive. You got to let go of that grudge. My ancestors tell me, when you talk to your people, when you go to your people in peace. Make peace with them. Go peacefully. When you go see your relative who done made you angry and upset at you, or she owe you some money, go to her peacefully. Let that money go, because obviously she needed more than you did. So let it go and just go to her peacefully and tell her you love her. I'm here for you. If you got it to give her, give it to her. Don't give it to the pastor. If you got it to give to her, give it to her. That's what we supposed to be here. See, that's what we done got away from. We don't help one another no more. We don't do for one another no more. We don't see about one another no more. I ain't got nothing for you. Nah, I can't say nothing to you. I don't even want to talk to you. That ain't how we were, people. We wasn't like that. We was a loving people. We was good. We were doing fine. Just like I say, we were fine. We were good. So we need to get back to that. We need to get back to love. Don't let your heart, because I'm telling you, God judges your heart. You'd heard that before, but it's true. God judges your heart. That's, and so when you, that's one thing you got to do, and this is about oppression. You got to learn to let go and forgive, because I've forgiven the people who've done the atrocities to my ancestors in the past. I've forgiven them, but they got because I know that they got judgment. Judgment is coming for them, and they have been judged. Those people that you seen standing all around them lynched bodies, hanging from the trees, and pointing and laughing, and all the people that do stuff out of evil to African Americans and to Africans period, and to each other. It's not just Africans. It's what we do to one another, how we hurt one another. We're going to be judged. You got to leave this world. You ain't going to stay here forever. You got to leave this world, and you go into a spiritual world. You need to get right before you leave here and go to that spiritual world, because they waiting to judge you. You're going to be judged. You're going to go through, and you don't want to be a tormented soul. You don't want to do that. So, another thing about this country I was talking about, how nothing ever was going right for me. And the reason that it dawned on me yesterday, why nothing ever really went right, why I didn't make it in the service, why I didn't make it as a sheriff deputy, why I didn't make it with the United Airlines, why I didn't make it in college, why I didn't make anything, why I didn't make it on the radio when I was doing that, paying all my money out. It didn't go right, because I'm a product of my environment. I ain't even supposed to be here, but I'm here, and to make a difference. It's a reason why I'm here. It's a reason why all that happened. That's why I'm not angry about it. I used to be, in high school and stuff, and I carried that for a long time. But I'm not angry about any of that anymore, because I know what I know now. I know that I'm on the right path, and I know that judgment is coming. You don't get away with doing stuff. I don't know if you ever heard about karma, but that stuff, what goes around comes around. It come back on you. It may not come back in this life, but you got to answer in the next life. So you got a God that created you, and you got to answer to that God for any oppressive action that you are doing on this earth, especially if you heard this message. You need to straighten up, because our time here ain't long. I don't know if you got your head stuck in the sand or what, or if you noticing what's going on up in the White House, but it's a whole lot of stuff that's happening right now. There's a tide turning. There's some different things about to happen. I don't know if the man getting ready to take a dictatorship or not, but the ancestors have told me that Donald Trump is not our problem. So don't worry about him and what he doing. You need to worry about you and your heart, and where you at, and your actions, and how you treating others, and how you living your life. Are you living honorably? Because I'm telling you, there's a message for you. You need to get right. We all need to grow, people. Greatness reached over oppression through wisdom. So this is the wisdom here. Now it's in your mind. So you got to come out of that oppression. You got to come all out of that. See, you've been programmed. That's what it's been. It's been programmed all these years, hundreds and hundreds of years. Back in slavery days, they would kill you if you didn't kill your brother. So you had to kill him. You had to maim. You had to torture. So now that's the cycle of events. And the result is oppression. How we oppress one another. But there's a message from the ancestors. It all ends. It's got to end. It all ends. It comes to an end no matter who you oppressing. If you the dope dealer or if you the dope taker, it don't matter who you oppressing. You know you're doing wrong. You need to change. Well, you got to examine your heart. See, I can't tell you your heart. Only you know your heart. You got to examine your heart and come out of that. All right. Remember, let's grow.